Hey guys, I'm going to show you something today that'll save you a couple $100. We get so many calls a year with homeowners assuring us that they've wired their GFCI receptacle correctly and that this is just a power issue and we need to come troubleshoot. And we'll come out there and show them how it wasn't hooked up correctly. There's a very specific way you have to hook up GFCI receptacles, and I'm going to show you that right now. Alright, this right here is a standard 20 amp GFCI receptacle. Notice how on the front you have a test and a reset button. This is for testing purposes, so you can make sure that it's wired correctly and that it's functioning as it should. So you would press this test button and then you'll hear a clicking noise, and then that's the reset button popping out of place, and it kills power to the receptacle and whatever else the receptacle may be feeding. Once you firmly push the reset button back into place, then you'll feel it click back into place and it restores power to the receptacle and down the line. So if you look on the back, this is where people tend to get it wrong, and this is what could save you a couple $100. Notice how you have a line and a load. Okay, so typically in most residential settings, you're going to have a number 12 Romex wire that comes out of your panel and to a box in your kitchen, bathroom, garage, or exterior. That Romex will have 3 wires inside of it. It'll have a black wire, a white wire, and a bare copper wire for your ground. Okay, so notice here it says hot. It says white. Okay, so hot is going to be your live wire, your power wire. Typically in residential settings, that's going to be black, and then your neutral is going to be your white wire, and then that's going to be the silver screws. So hot, in most receptacles I've ever seen, the hot colored screws are always like copper and gold, and then your neutral is always going to be silver, and then your ground is going to be green. So that wire that comes from your panel, from your breaker, is going to need to go on your line side. That's your incoming power. That is your line. Your load is what you're feeding off of it. So if you're in a kitchen and you have 6 receptacles and your GFCI is feeding all 6, so where the power comes in from the panel, that box would be where you would put this receptacle, and then all the other receptacles, there's going to be another wire in there, and it's going to daisy chain all the way down. You would put that wire on this. So your hot would go here, and your neutral would go here, and the grounds would tie together, and just one ground would go here in your ground screw. This little thing right here is a diagram to show you how long you should strip your wire out, how much exposed copper you should have, and then that will fit inside this hole, and then you tighten this screw down, and then that way you don't have any exposed copper sticking out the back side of it. I'm gonna hook this up with one wire, just like a line side wire, and I'm gonna show you guys how it should look whenever it's done. But a lot of times homeowners will, the wire coming from their panel, they'll put in here, and then the wires going to the next receptacle, they'll put in here, and they'll insist they did it right, and it's confusing at first, and I get it. I've been doing this a long time, so this is simple for me, but sometimes not all receptacles are the same. Like this line's up here and this loads down here, but that's different on some receptacles that I've noticed. So not all GFCI brands are the same, so you always got to pay attention, but they're all going to say line or load, and that's what's important, right? Line is the incoming power, load is whatever that's feeding. All right, I'm going to hook a wire up to this, and I'm going to show you guys how it should look whenever it's done. All right, here's our finished product. You want to make sure you give everything a nice tug whenever you're done installing it. Make sure everything's tight. If you have a loose wire in your receptacle, it'll sit there and arc over time, and then it'll eventually melt the interior and exterior of your receptacle, and we don't want that. We don't have a load here on this side for this demonstration. I'm just trying to show you how it should look. So this is just a line side, so this would be the wire coming out of the panel. So if you don't know how to tell the difference, I can tell you how to tell the difference. Basically what you do, let's say you're in your kitchen and you have a GFCI receptacle that is no longer functioning properly. You would then go into your panel, you would find the breaker labeled kitchen GFCI, most likely you're going to have 2. You would then go ahead and cut power to both of them, turn both breakers off. You would then unscrew your plate, unscrew these screws here that hold it into the box, pull it out of the wall. You can go on our website and you can find one of these. It's a non-contact voltage tester. We're not sponsored by them, and we don't sponsor them. This is just a good one that we've used. I'm kind of bougie, so I like the one with the flashlight on it. We do have a cheaper, lamer version on there as well. Just go check it out. Regardless, you would basically pull this out of the wall, and then you would you're going to have 2 wires most likely in your kitchen. You're going to have, we consider this 1 wire. This is a 12-2 Romex, okay? So they call it 12-2 even though it has this ground in there. The ground doesn't count to 12-2. If it was 12-3 Romex, you would have a red wire in here as well. But this is a 12-2 Romex. So we've got our ground, our neutral, and our hot wire. You would separate them off of the receptacle, disconnect them as long as you've checked to make sure that they don't have power. You would put this on the wire and it would beep or turn red if it had power. So we know this doesn't have power, so we would pull it off, separate it, put wire nuts on all the wires, and then disconnect this as well on our load side, separate them, put wire nuts on them. Then we would go turn our breaker back on. Then we would get our little non-contact voltage checker, we call it a tick tester, and you would put it on the wires until it turns red or starts beeping. It goes beep, 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 beep. Once it does that, then you know, okay, this is my line side. This is coming directly from my breaker. So now I know. So you go turn your breaker off, and then that is the wire that you would then put on your line side. The other wire would go on your load side, and that's what's, feeding out to other receptacles throughout your kitchen. That is how you tell the difference. Again, make sure everything's tight. I cannot stress that enough. You wouldn't believe how many times we go into somebody's house and it's just pure, decay on the back of these receptacles because something wasn't tightened down properly. Same with light fixtures. It's a big problem. So make sure everything's tight whenever you do it. All right? All right. I hope you guys learned something from that. You can always go to homeownerpal.com. We have a plethora of different information. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to call the hotline at 423-HOPLINE. We'll talk to either me or Tim. And we don't mind walking you through stuff like this just to make sure it's done right. We'd rather you do it right and save you a couple $100s than doing it wrong and potentially messing something up. So give us a call anytime and go to the website. Check it out. See if you like it. Thank you so much.